Namaskar, Pranam, Johar. Anybody interested in news will see that all media recently has been flooded with news about Nepal. And what does it tell us? It tells us that Gen Z, that means anybody who's below the age of 27, 28 years old, has been actively involved in this revolution. These revolutions, the ones that have been visible lately, have been very different from the historical revolutions of, say, the Bolshevik revolution, where people used to plan, where people used to need a leader, somebody who could give speeches, who could lead the masses to unite and to bring about a change. The first one that I noticed was against the Gotabaya family of Sri Lanka a couple of years ago. And the way the people rose up against that family and the president and drove them away, they had to literally run out of their homes, get onto helicopters from their rooftops and rush to the airport and leave the country. After Sri Lanka, the next scenario happened in Bangladesh. Now, Sheikh Hasina, whose family was responsible for the creation of Bangladesh, for bringing about the split of Pakistan, she, in her long rule, which lasted for more than 1.5 decades, she distanced herself so much from the people that she had no inkling of what the common man wanted, for which, when the revolution did take place, also had to run away wearing just the clothes she had. And people entered her homes, the presidential palace, the prime minister's home, the ministers' palaces, and ransacked everything. Next in the lineup came Nepal recently. Nepal, we saw that Gen Z, they not only beat up some of the politicians, including the finance minister, who was stripped naked, kicked and beaten, and similarly, many bureaucrats were also beaten up, because the anger of the people now is against the establishment. They also realize that it's not just the politicians who are at fault, it is the politicians' wish maybe, but it is the eagerness of the bureaucrats who implement the policies and the programs and their crooked ways that are suppressing people. If we move our sights on to Europe, we saw during Angela Merkel's time in Germany, they allowed in a lot of Islamists, a lot of Muslims from the Middle East, those who were running away from so-called persecution. And then later on, a lot of movement into France and then even into UK. And all of these who moved in, their target was to ensure that Sharia comes into effect in all these Western countries. So they wanted to bring in their religion. Now, on one hand, they are saying they're refugees, they need protection, and they are moving in as illegal immigrants. On the other side, they also demanded that our law, our religion, our likes and dislikes should be implemented here. For a long time, the local white population did not respond and went along with the government. That people are fed up. The governments all over in democracies across the world, they are moving away from people. And what is that resulting in? It is resulting in a void which is being filled in by players who are independent players, like Tommy Robinson in the UK. As far as I know, he is a journalist. He does not kowtow to any political party bosses. He has no political connect as such. If we see on the surface, I do not know the inside story, but he is an individual, and he called for a Unite the Kingdom march, and more than 150,000 people got together in London, and they walked the streets, and all of them were whites, all of them were locals, and they opposed their government. It is not just the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, it is also against the opposition parties, it is against the whole spectrum of political movement in the UK. The similar way that it happened in Bangladesh, in Sri Lanka, in Nepal, the same thing is replicating itself in Europe. So this shows that if politicians today in democracies do not understand that they are distancing themselves from people. The actual needs of people are not being addressed by government. Only some schemes and some slogans. Once people understand that and people rise up, the politicians should be very, very sure that no amount of security forces, no amount of police, no amount of political party worker support, no amount of goons, no amount of money is going to give them protection. Once people rise, it can be limited to a city, it can be limited to Tokyo, like it has been limited to Dhaka, it has been limited to Kathmandu, it has been limited to Colombo, it has been limited to London. So it's just one city. If people arise in one city and want to break down the system, they can do it, they are doing it, and they are proving it over and over and over again. So it is time for the political leadership in democracies across the world that they have to rise up. You never know whether this will happen one day in Moscow. It can happen anywhere now. So politicians have to realize that not only in non-democratic countries, even in democracies, people are feeling that I vote for somebody else, but somebody else rules me. So that kind of a feeling is one of the death knells of democracy. A new form of democracy is evolving, which we saw in Nepal also. The voting for Sushila, the new Prime Minister, was through the youngsters play with Discord, which is a game-related app or server. And total votes she polled was 3,700 or 3,600 votes totally. And maybe the overall voting thing was about 7 to 8,000 votes, not even 10,000 votes, in a country which has a population of about 2.5 crore people. So this minuscule amount, which is probably 0.00 something, that minuscule number of people could bring about a change because the anger was that intense and everybody else kept quiet. So it is time the politicians wake up, they realize that we have to go to the people, we have to connect with the people. We cannot stand on podiums and give long speeches. People may come because they're organized, but in Nepal nobody organized. In London nobody spent a single pound to get anybody. In France nobody spent money to get people. People are coming out on their own when the anger is peaking. So every democracy today has to figure out, how do I reach back to the people from whom I have been distanced? If they don't do that, bye-bye. This is the editorial I want to write, and I would very much appreciate your frank opinions on this subject. I will be happy if you give your opinions in the comment box, whether I am right or wrong, and if I am wrong, what am I wrong about, and if I am right, what do you support? I would like your opinion, and then only I will write. Thank you for listening.